Okay, so this is Hypoxylon canker. So Hypoxylon canker is a general term for a number of different canker rot diseases that occur on hardwoods that are caused by fungi, a number of different fungi that historically were in the genus Hypoxylon, but there are actually a number of different species and actually different genera. So they're actually not all hypoxylons now, and some of them have been named they have other names like Biscognoia and other things, but we still refer to them broadly as hypoxylon. And so Hypoxylon canker the disease is actually something that affects usually stress trees, and it kills the living tissue right under the bark. We call that the cambium, which of course is critical to the function of the stem. But it also invades the sapwood, causing a decay or a rot. So we refer to pathogens that do that as canker rot pathogens, or we refer to this as a canker rot disease. So there's a number of these that do this, and they affect hardwood species, a wide range of hardwood species. Most frequently, we see them on oaks, and we sometimes see them on hickories, but very, very commonly in this region, we see them on oaks. In other parts of the country, they affect other species. Like, for example, there's a hypoxylon that affects aspen in the Midwest. And so to recognize this, the signs and symptoms that you would typically see, the most characteristic thing is that the fungus produces a fruiting body that replaces the bark. And so if you see here, you see this dark gray, sometimes it's even black in color. We refer to this as resupinate, or that means flat fruiting body that replaces the bark. And so as the cambium is killed, the bark will fall away. Of course, it dries out and it falls away, and the fungus is under there. And then once that happens, the fungus, to reproduce, it produces this large, flat structure, which is hard. It's very durable, and that's where the spores are produced. So this fruiting body will be large. It can actually cover a big section of the trunk, or sometimes it occurs on branches. And of course the bark is gone where that is produced. So that's a sign of the fungus. And you will see this on trees that are weakened or stressed or dying. That portion of the stem may very well be dead, but not always, because you might have living tissue on the other side. But you can see here, most of this is a cross section that we have here to show you. You can see that you have that fruiting body. And if you look really carefully, if you use like a hand lens or a microscope, you would see little pores present, and that's where the spores would be released, is through those little pores. Now, the other thing is this, like I said, this is a canker rot, so it causes decay. And so if you made a cross section, or you look at the wood, the sapwood, you see that it's bleached out and actually has pockets, especially in this case here, pockets of decay. So the wood is actually being decayed by this fungus as well. So there's a weakening of the wood that's been affected by this organism. So the key identifying features really for this are, the main thing really is this fruiting body, this resupinate fruiting body. It can be gray, it can be black, sometimes it can even have a little bit of a pinkish tinge to them. And the only thing that you might sort of confuse this with, or you might misidentify it as, would be a lichen, because sometimes we have lichens that can be flat, but lichens are generally, if it's on a live tree especially, it's going to be on the surface of the bark. It's not going to be replacing the bark. The other thing, of course, is the lichens aren't going to cause death of the cambium, and they're not going to cause decay. So it's that combination of things. And lichens generally aren't as extensive as this. And so that's the basic identifying features of Hypoxylon canker. And again, like I said, this is something that affects usually weakened or stressed trees that have been stressed by drought or construction damage. They have damage to the roots or something like that. They aren't usually aggressive primary pathogens that that affect trees that are in good condition. It's usually something this is a type of pathogen that affects a weakened tree. And so That is the Hypoxylon canker.